Hey kids, it's time for another video and it's lesson 14, another good one, another one of my favorites, multiplying with fractions. So just like the previous lesson, lesson 13, lesson 14 is multiplying, but we're using non-unit fractions as one of the factors. So there are some sample problems in the teacher's book that hopefully your teachers will go over with you before you get started in the lesson. Just gives you an opportunity to practice. Usually about food, lasagna or crispy rice treats, which is CRT, so I get tired of writing it. So anyway, a couple different problems, just going to whiz through them really quickly. Jan had 3/5 pan of crispy rice treats. That means that 3 out of 5 pieces are shaded. She sent one third of the treats to school. What fraction of the treats did she send to school? So start out with the vertical with what you have, and then the horizontal would be what is being taken of that. So 1/3 of 3/5, 1/3 times 3/5. Please do try to simplify if you can beforehand. I almost never will do the straight multiplication just because I find it really annoying if I have to have bigger answers. I almost always will try to simplify before I multiply. So that's just me. Hopefully it'll be you someday too. And next one, Jan has 4/5 pan of crispy rice treats. Again, 4 out of 5 parts should be shaded this way, the vertical. And then she sends half of that, half of 4/5. Again, you can multiply straight across. That's the strategy when multiplying, and get 4/10, but you will then have to simplify that to please your teacher, undoubtedly, or just cross cancel before you get started and end up with 2/5 in the first place. And the last couple problems, there are several in the book. I don't think I have all of them in here, but I have most of them. There's another one, it's a big word problem, 3/4 of 1/2. And so if you start out with the half and then you take 3/4 of it, then horizontally you have more sections this way. And again, 3 of those. And this one, there's no simplifying. You can't cross cancel with this, and if you switch by using the commutative property, there's nothing that's going to simplify. You end up with 3 out of 8 pieces that are shaded for the total. And then the last one was about this word problem. He uses 3/5 of his kickballs in class, half of the remaining. So be super careful about which section you're using. Sometimes they want you to use the numerator, and other times they want you to use what is not there. So they might be interested in the 2/5 out of the 5/5. That would be the part that's missing. So really watch out when you read, and try to make a tape diagram that will help you see what's happening. So let's move into the book. Lesson 14. Alrighty, and we're going to solve, draw a rectangular fraction model to explain your thinking, then write a number sentence. So you have to draw, you have to write, and an example has been done for you. So if you check it out and you see 1/2 of 2/5, 2/5 is what you have. So that's going to be, oops, I put an arrow right to the other one. 2/5 is going to be the vertical part that's shaded, and I always tend to shade the leaning right for the first part. And then remember when I said in the book they use a double shading, but that would be ridiculous for us to try to get the shading just right. So we just have the opposite direction. And then the crisscross is where we have the overlap, which is where your answer lies. So if I'm taking half of 2/5, then I end up with 1 times 2, which is 2, and 2 times 5, which is 10. And again, this is not simplest form. If you were to do 1/2 times 2/5 and recognize that you could use the commutative property and have 1/5 times 2/2 and just go wha-bam, switcheroo, this becomes 1, and then you end up with 1/5. That's how that works, and that's why cross-canceling works. Okay, so there you go. So let's jump into the next problem, and we're going to, remember, make a model. 1/3 of 3/4. Okay, so why do they're so redundant, it's really annoying. I have 3/4, and I'm going to create vertical sections, 4 sections, but this is what we are starting with. And so you want to make sure you're right slashing, and you could start with your left, it doesn't really matter. Okay, but you want to make sure that you have the 3/4 shaded. And then we're going to take 1/3 of that. So I need 3 sections. Okay, 3 tells you how many sections. And then we're going to shade one of them. And that's going to be the opposite direction. Okay, now notice I shade the whole thing, but the book only shades the part that overlaps. You could stop your crisscross double shade here. Got to get my little orange pen again today. You could stop your shading because this kind of doesn't really matter, and this doesn't matter. It matters in the total number that we're counting because we have 12 pieces, but it only is this part that is double crisscrossed where your answer lies. So write a number sentence. So we're going to do 1/3 of 3/4. I can't even leave that like that. I just have to say that's going to be 3 divided by 3 is 1, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then I multiply and get 1/4. Now, why this doesn't look like 1/4? What's happening? Well, what's happening is that if you multiply 1/3 times 3/4, you would get 3/12. That's what you see here. You see 3 pieces. Okay, that's the 3 double crisscrossed out of 12 total pieces. But I can take this and I can say, well, if 3 pieces makes 1, then there would be 4 of those triples. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So this is 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So it's equivalent. This 1/4 is equal to 3/12. It's the same. That's what equivalency is. Okay, and so you can look at it in a couple different ways, but you're correct if you have this, but you're also correct if you have that. And this is the simpler form. So you just have to talk to a teacher and see what they want. I always like things in simplest form. It's just better. On these days, though, you can definitely have 3/12, and I will say, hooray, you know what you're doing. So that's exciting. Let's move on to the next one. So 1/2 of 4/5. Oops. I'm just going to section this off. So we have lots of room. 4/5 is going to look like 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 4 of them are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way down here. Okay. And then we're going to take half of that. And that's going to be the other way. Okay, so it's 1/2 of 4/5. Now I can do it straight across and get 4/10, and that's going to be the exact number of pieces, or I can do the simplified answer. And this is going to be the lowest form. So this is what you see, but this is the simplified form. And again, if there are 2 pieces, if this makes 2 out of 5, and here's 1, here's another set of 2, and here's another set of 2. They don't have to be the same shape to still be 2 pieces. Okay, so that's kind of what all that's about. I'm probably not going to keep doing this to show you because I think you probably have caught on by now. So let's do the next one. C, 1/2 of, oh, this is fun. Okay, so if I have 2 halves at first, basically, I have something that's in 2 pieces, and I have all of it. Because 2 halves equals 1. So that's 1. I have the whole thing. But I'm going to take half of that. Okay, so I'm going to double crisscross on the half. So I'm taking half of 2 halves, or half of 1. And so it's going to be half of 2 halves, which could be 2/4, but it is 1/2. So there you go. It's half. Next one, 2/3 of half, half, 3 sections, and 2 are shaded. And so we have 2/3 times half. Now, you might be used to me going this way, and I would say, what about the commutative property? Remember, you can switch factors around. So if this is a factor times this factor, I can do 2 times 1 over 2 times 3. So I just switcheroo these numbers. Now I have 2 halves, which is equal to 1, and 1 times 1/3, so I get 1/3. Okay, now 1/3 is the simplest form. It's also equal to 2/6. If I multiply and get 2/3 times 1/2 equals 2/6. So if you only see 2/6, you're right, but this 1/3 is simplified. Next one, 3/5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go, 3/5. Half of that other way. Okay, so you're going to have, you can see how many, if you made 5 this way, it's doubled, that's 10. 1, 2, 3. I can count and see that it's going to be 3/10. But if you are ever able to simplify, I always like it when you do that, but on this one we can't. Okay, but we had to write the number sentence anyway. 2/3 of 1/4. 1/4, ooh, that's a terrible model. Look at that big fat section. Anyway, let's pretend they're the same. 2/3 of 1/4. We need 3 sections going this way. And it's going to be this one tiny little piece, 2/3 of 1/4. Now I can simplify. You can leave it like this, or you can do 2/3 times 1/4 and recognize that I could cross cancel. Again, it's got to be the crisscrossing. Use 2 as your divisor. And then this would be 1/6. Next. 2/3. Sorry, I think I made a boo-boo there. 2/3. 2. I was looking at the answer going 2/12. Hey, that's only 1/12. If you guys were here, you'd be telling me loudly too. Mrs. Sadness, you made a mistake. Need that help. Okay. 5/8 of the songs on Harrison's music player are hip-hop. 1/3 of the remaining songs, key word right there, are rhythm and blues, R&B. What fraction of all the songs are R&B? So use a tape diagram to solve. So let's take our rectangle. 5/8 of the songs are hip-hop, so we're going to make 8 sections. 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just FYI, this is not what we're looking for. We're just labeling it carefully. 5/8 of the songs are hip-hop. Hip, hip, hop, hippity hop, a hip hop, hip. I don't know. There's a song and I do not know what it is, but it goes something like that. It's kind of fun. Haven't heard it in forever. Okay. What we're looking at is 1/3 of the remaining songs. So 1/3 of the remaining. These are the remaining. here. 1, 2, 3. And it's 1/3 of them. So it's going to be 1/3 of the remaining. Okay, so we have this tiny little section down here that is 1/3 of the remaining. I could keep going the opposite direction, but I'm looking for that double crisscross, which I didn't highlight this section. That's okay, as long as I know I'm using this section. So what am I finding? I am finding 1/3 of, not 5/8, 3/8. Okay, this is 3/8. And I'm finding 1/3 of what's remaining. That's when you have to be careful. Be careful to use the right number, okay? Not using what they gave you, using what's remaining. 3 and 3 can be cross-canceled. You could multiply it straight across and get 3/24, or you can simplify first and get 1/8. 1/8 of the songs are R and B, rhythm and blues. There you go. Okay. Next one. 3/5 of the students in a room are girls. Okay. And you're going to have, that means 2/5 are going to be boys. 1/3 of the girls have blonde hair. 1/2 of the boys have brown hair. So we've got our two sections. And what fraction of all the students are only the girls with the blonde hair? So let's make a tape diagram. We'll use a tape diagram for this one. 3/5 of the students, 2, 3, 4, 5, are girls. Okay, girls. Therefore, boys. Okay, girls and boys. 1/3, okay, the girls already have 3/3. 1/3 of the girls have blonde hair. B-L-O-N-D are here. 1/2 of the boys, well, there are only two sections, two halves, have brown hair. Okay, so what fraction of all the students are girls with blonde hair? Well, look, we have 5/5 are all the students. 4/5 do not qualify with that description. So 1/5 are girls with blonde hair. Did you know you could put an E on blonde and it would still be correct? It's one of those words where you can spell it with an E or without. So anyway, tape diagrams can be so helpful when you are setting up problems like this. What fraction of all the students are boys without brown hair? Well, hello. We have, again, it's the same type thing. You can look at it and say, well, it's 1/5. So again, 5/5 minus this 1, or minus everything that's accounted for, and it's the same problem. 1/5 are without brown hair. So simple. And then Cody and Sam mowed the yard on Saturday. Dad told Cody to mow 1/4 of the yard. He told Sam to mow 1/3 of the remainder. Okay. Dad paid each of the boys an equal amount. Sweet. Sam said, Dad, can't you hear it right now? Complaining. Dad, that's not fair. I had to mow 1/3 and Cody only mowed 1/4. Explain to Sam the error in his thinking and draw a picture. Let's start with the picture. 1/4 of the yard. Let's make the yard into 4 sections. And this is Cody mowing 1/4. Okay. Now, 1/3 of the remainder is 1/3 of 3/4. Okay, so when you look at 1/3 of the remainder, if you make the sections and you do 1/3, sorry, whoopsie, 1/3 of the remainder. We could do any of these, but I'm going to pick this one. Okay, how many squares do they each get? And can you multiply it? And so you say, hey, look, Cody had 1/4, and Sam also has 1/4. So they are the same. So there's no reason to complain because 1/3 of 3/4 is 1/4. And so they are actually mowing the same amount. So yay! I hope you guys enjoyed this fun lesson. I just love these. Anyway, subscribe if you like these, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!